Good morning, good people of a great nation. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this fresh edition of Development Focus with Jide on ITV. This 23rd day of March 2022. Like I said, when we opened studio at 7, I did say that today we will be having some veterans coming to join us to analyze issues of importance. Our first segment will be looking at health, media and health. What has media got to do with health? Is there a role for media in health promotion, in health analysis, in health health improvement? I've dragged in our mommy. She's a grandmother. She's a veteran journalist, broadcaster. She's a gender expert. In fact, she's several things rolled into one. If you watch NTA, Nigeria Television Authority, she was an authority on health journalism. And I'm talking of no other person than Mrs. Mujima Konjuela. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Jide, for having me on.
You're still looking this young, despite being a grandmother. What's the secret?
Christ.
Yeah.
But well, I don't know. I'm just grateful to God for His grace and mercy on my life and what I've been able to do and still doing. So I can't actually say this, but I think I should give all to God.
Well, God has been great. God has been wonderful. So tell us a bit about yourself. Mujima Konjuela is an household name in the up until early 2000s. For those of us who grew up watching Nigeria Television Authority, we watched so many of your reports on health coverage and all of that. So tell us a bit about your foray into journalism.
Okay. I actually started journalism the very day I stopped my WAEC exam.
Wow.
Yes, I was.
Which year was that?
Long time back. I was in the debating society and at school, and I went for this debate with one of the strongest boys' school then in the north, and my school won. Apparently, one of the veterans, bless his soul, Senator Adamu Augi, who also worked at RKTV at that time, heard me and came to me and said to me, "Listen, you got, you're a natural." And he started mentoring me. And first he made sure I went into radio. I got all the trainings that I needed. I mean, as a mentor, he was just there for me. He would listen into everything I say. He would critique me. I would cry. But at the end of the day, I would say that I owe it to him. I owe it to my parents who supported me and for what I am today, because each time he gave me courage. He told me I was a natural. I was eager to go to school, I wanted to be, you'll be shocked at the kind of things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a hair hostess. I wanted to be just all and about. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lecturer. I thought I should go into the university. When they call people doctor, professor, the hype that goes with it. Yeah. But more than anything else, I had always loved to write and speak. And so I just thought that was my strength, actually. But God gave me Senator Adamu Augi. He's late now. But the thing is that he saw me through it. He saw that I got trained professionally. And when I kept lamenting to him, "Sir, some of my mates are graduates now, I need to go back to school," he said, "Yes, you would go back to school. But just when you hit it, I would give the nod." And so even up until he died, he propped me on, not just in terms of getting a diploma, but also having a degree and being a professional that I am today. So that has been the journey in journalism. But for me, then I grew up in Zaria, and there was the first female journalist. You're talking of Theresa Boyer. was in Zaria. She owned a school in Zaria, and she used to write for the new Nigerian newspapers, and I never missed it, even as young as I was. In fact, everybody knew in the house to ask what Auntie Teresa had written. You know, they would come to me, Muji, have you read this week's edition and all that? So at 10 years, my father bought me the complete works of Shakespeare.
Wow.
So I had read that even before, you know, before I had literature as one of my courses. So it's an inborn thing, and I thank God that I've been able to exhibit the inner strength, which today has culminated into who I am. So I worked on Radio Kwara, Radio Nigeria, then went to the first phase on NTA Ilorin. It used to be NTV Ilorin.
Wow.
Yeah. In between, went to school, got married, became a mother, and worked through. So when I got to Network News, I was transferred. Here's a young woman. Give her social desk, you know, the stereotype of those days. So I covered the women's desk, I covered education, and I covered health. And I was actually intrigued with health, having lost my mother under, you know, a very serious condition, which I thought if she had been, you know, if she had been looked after properly, she probably would have survived. She was involved in an accident. She had internal hemorrhage, but nobody knew because she didn't have fracture, so she was left there until somebody saw her bleeding from all over the, you know, all over the body, and before they did anything, she was gone. So the neglect there actually prompted me to say, listen, I must do all I can, you know, reporting health for survival, actually. So I would say that it is actually the loss of my mom that propelled me into reporting health. And then NTA management just saw that strength. And one day after the editorial meeting, the deputy director of news called me to his office and said, congratulations, you are now head of health desk. Okay, head of health desk. That was a huge challenge for me. So that propelled me. And I think every anger, every strength, everything I read everything up about health. I mean, the doctors became my friends by force. The nurses, the pharmacists, I wanted to understand their jargon. And, you know, over the years, God has blessed me with the fact that one now became an authority in reporting health. Then I got this scholarship from CDC Atlanta that gave me all that I needed to know about public health, which is where the media is needed. So a whole gamut of tragedy, of heartbreak, so to speak, because when you lose somebody, it's a heartbreak, and survival, when you see people survive. And the work of science in medicine, all these propelled me to become, I think, who I am today.
So it's very inspiring to listen to you talk about your career path and how, you know, you've come thus far. But you have written a book. Is that your memoir or autobiography? Or
no,
what,
no, that's not my memoir. I'm actually working on my memoir now,
Okay.
and Jide, we are going to be sending you some questionnaires. You know.
It's all right.
But seriously, I was leaving NTA 2012. I was not 60 then, and I was living as head of health desk for several years. And I said to myself, I must leave a documentation that would show all these years that one has been able to walk through the path of health journalism. So I wrote a book. Unfortunately, I don't have it here, but you can, you know, some other time. It's called Mujima Konjola, A Journey in Health Journalism. And for me, that just helped me to bring to bear my experience as a health correspondent, and also show the significance of media in health, in the whole gamut of healthcare a sector response. So it just goes through my experience from where it started, from what made me became a health journalist, and what we can do as journalists, and of course some testimonials from people who actually gave justification to what the media can do in healthcare. So
now let's look at media and public health. Let's take a test case, a case study. How did you think Nigeria media fared in the coverage of COVID-19 pandemic?
Wow, COVID-19. At the very beginning, I was very curious because I didn't see the seriousness that we needed to attach to COVID-19 in terms of prevention, in terms of what was happening around the world, and being able to bring it to our own reality. So I would say that we probably had a very staggering start.
False start of a sort.
Yes. So, but I thought that because of the experience of Ebola, for example, if only we were trending or tracking epidemics or what became a pandemic, we would have been more proactive as media. But eventually, we caught up with it. We caught up because it became a pandemic. Pandemic is global. And we now saw that we also are part of people that can give succor, hope, and life to people. I would say that at the beginning, maybe the fact that even now, the media is never called in, or they don't plan around what the media can do. So you find out that you are picking up, you're picking up messages or stories all over the place. There's no centrality in terms of how you address the media. But I think after a while, the presidential task force saw the need to bring in the media. Regular briefing came in, and that was enough. But we didn't, as far as I was concerned, there were several other stories that we should have done, which we neglected, because we had the opportunity to move around and go around, at least to see other things that other people were not seeing. I'm not sure about the messages that got to the rural areas, for example. I'm not sure about believability in terms of Nigerians knowing that, hey, we have a health crisis here and it needs everybody's intervention. That worked very slowly. I was in England, locked down at that point, and I just was asking health correspondents, I mean, how do you manage yourselves? They say, nobody cares about us. We are not given PPEs and
personal protective equipment.
Equipment. So I sent in what I could get from England. I sent in masks. I sent in a bit of gloves to health correspondents. But I wasn't sure how far that would go. But eventually, the media became the space, for everyone. NCDC needed the media. The presidential task force needed the media. And eventually, we have first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave. Some are even saying the fifth wave. And so the media became an imperative for containing, for curbing, for enlightening people of the need for you to protect yourself.
But right now there seems to be a lot. You talked about believability. Up till now, I've seen people who believe that COVID-19 is a farce and that it's just those white men disease. It can't affect, because people never believed in wearing of face mask. When I say people, majority never really bought into that. People did not observe those non-pharmaceutical protocols of social distance or physical distancing, using hand sanitizers and all of that. It's more like an elite thing. So people like you and I will carry our face mask. We look, even when you go to parties, you are like the odd one out. You know, because you are wearing face masks and everybody's like, so you are one of those who believe that this thing is the. And when you have governors coming out to say, it's not true. I mean, you hear of a couple of governors that says, no, this is...
That actually broke my heart because, listen, I sit here today to testify, not gladly, to the fact that we have a huge problem in public health. My brother-in-law died from COVID.
Wow.
My favorite brother-in-law, like my son, because he lived with us and became a very successful person. But he died of COVID. So what is there again to convince the world about?
I mean, we have former governors that died of COVID. We have the chief of staff to the president died of COVID.
So
but people still don't believe it.
But you know,
because of the public health.
It is the sensibility. Yes, it is the sensibility of Nigerians. You know, we're very religious and not religious at all. When you say to people, "Oh, it's not my portion."
It's not my portion.
Yes,
Jesus.
Yes, yeah, you know. And then if again, I think majorly there's no trust. There's a gap of trust deficit in governance, and that affected a lot of people. And I think the fact that, if I may push this to media and also push it to government, is the fact that it became a theater because there was more stress on palliatives. And when you're talking of palliatives, it became palliative of rice and noodles and all that. So for me, we missed it. At that junction, we missed it. Because in public health, what we should address is the disease, the how, the where, and and where to get succor. We did not promote that. Instead, we promoted palliatives. So if you didn't get palliative, you didn't believe that government was serious about fighting COVID-19. So
anyway, let's not spend all our time discussing COVID-19. COVID-19 is still there with us. Thank God. Maybe our prayers actually worked. Not maybe. Our prayers actually worked. Because the kind of casualty, mortality you have in US, in UK, in Germany, and all of that. We didn't record that.
We didn't record it here.
The entire continent of Africa.
But that's not a reason why we should not be very weary. COVID is still with us. Please, can I use this opportunity to beg you, if you have not had your vaccine, please go ahead and get vaccinated. I have had both the 2 vaccines and of course the booster. And I'm here today with Jide. So
and you're still looking radiant.
So, thank you for the compliment.
For those who think that, I recall Muji, I recall when I got my first shot around March last year, because I'm one of those early birds. And I got a call from Ibadan, from my friend's father. Said, don't ever bother, don't take that vaccine, it kills people. I said, I've had you, sir. The man is 80 years old, but he doesn't believe in this. But I took my 2 shots. I'm here, I'm alive, I'm telling the story. I carry my face mask all over. If not for the fact that we are here, I will have won.
And we have the
so we are practicing what we preach. And please, in case this vaccine is still free, I join Muji in pleading with us. Please go take your vaccine. Don't say it's over. It's not over until it's over. So you went ahead and set up an NGO.
Yes.
After your retirement in 2012. What do you do? I read a bit of your profile, but I want it to come from the Horses Smart, as it said. So what does the NGO do, and where have you been able to get some form of support?
My NGO is called the International Society of Media and Public Health. I went after my heart. I went after my passion.
Which is good.
And I did this because I saw a lot of gap in encouraging media houses to have their own health desk. But that's not the issue now. I'm so happy that if I look back and you have the Health Correspondents Association of Nigeria, you have special pages and columns and even tell on TV, on radio on health issues. But so we are called ISMPH for short. And what do? We ISMPH,
Institute for
International Society of Media in Public Health.
International
Society of Media in Public Health, ISMPH. So what we do is mainstream the media in public health. The messaging, because I say this with every iota of humility, we understand the messages. We know what should be said. We know how to engage in terms of, the right communication for the masses, for target audience. What we give to you as an elite won't be what we'll give to people. The framing of the messages are people who reside, for example, in Papi. If I would come to Papi now,
what kind of messages?
My language will be different.
Yeah, you won't be speaking this Foray that you are speaking.
Well, if you say that.
No, you are very articulate.
Seriously, what we'll be doing is mainstreaming media in public health.
Okay.
Why did we do this? 60 to 70% of the diseases that are ravaging Nigerians and are causing very high incidences of mortality are preventable.
Preventable disease.
Because we do not.
And they are not communicable.
And they're not communicable. Now we are even having to deal with communicable diseases. How can we be saying in the 21st century that Nigerian children are dying from malnutrition, are dying from diarrhea, cholera, simple meningitis? All these are preventable. Even measles, even
malaria.
Even malaria,
0 to 5.
Yes, no mosquitoes, no malaria. So if you speak to people to sleep under insecticide-treated nets, they would readily. If you tell people to clean their environment, it's all public health. If you clean your environment, if you drink safe water, for example, even if you are not sure it's not safe, boil it, cool it, and drink it. So these are the issues, and who best to promote these messages? The media. So that's what we're mainstreaming the media to ensuring healthcare delivery in Nigeria beyond rhetorics. And then again, using it as an avenue to be able to, to have an interface with even the policymakers. Because we go to the field. A lot of them have never been to the field. And we are able to say to policymakers, okay, this is your budget for this year. You have not addressed issues that we have found out. For example, if it's infrastructure, if it's human resources, for example, at the rural areas. And so the media becomes that powerhouse that is able to interface between the governed and, of course, the government. Because in our own situation in Nigeria, we're so government dependent. Government gives us everything. No, a lot of governors will come. It's their time now. We are looking at 2023. Politicians will come and say to you, we'll give you free health. How?
Free education.
Free education. How? What we are trying to do with ISMPH is create demand from the governed to the government. Okay, if you say, for example, you are going to give us free health, how is that operational?
In the feasibility of how. So don't just tell us we are going. We are giving you electricity. How do you intend to go about it? Do you know our debt profile currently? Are you going to be borrowing more money, or are you going to be thinking out of the box? Is it private sector participation and all of that?
So we're looking at what the world is even saying. The world is saying universal health coverage. That is, at whatever level you are, you must be able to get some measure of quantitative health care. Well, quality health care. Where is that possible? I looked around you with my journalistic lens coming here. The mass of people that I saw only saw one hospital and it's a private hospital, you know, driving in. I haven't been round, but I saw it. I wasn't quite impressed because of the way it was situated, because these are things that we really must look after, and that's what ISMPH intends to do. We are not combative, but what we are trying to do is using the strength of the pen, of the camera, of the media, social media now, to you know, to tell people this is what you should do. And it's not just about government now. We're also saying to you about your own health, your own, you know, responsibility. Know your health, know your body. And if I say to Nigerians, if I may ask you, there's this thing they call that men should really go look after them. Your prostate. Prostate, yeah. When last did you have a medical check? Don't answer. It will be another time. Yeah. Well, seriously.
No, but actually, you've raised a very serious issue. We are here walking around the clock. Do we pay attention to our health?
No.
Do we even go for? I mean, it's one thing to say go have health check, but even those small devices we could use to check our blood pressure, do we have it at home? Do we have device to check your blood sugar level at home?
How many people can afford it?
Exactly. No. It's not even about. It's knowledge.
The knowledge to know that.
The knowledge.
I can do this for myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, and I'm not saying this. Yes, many of us are scared stiff of going for a comprehensive health check because of the cost implication. And some people will say, what you don't know will not kill you. So it's better you don't get to know.
It's good to know sometimes.
It's good to know. But you see, I'm backing you up to say, even those small handheld devices to check your blood sugar, to check your blood pressure.
Even with your phone. Even on your phone.
You can do that. And there used to be where there is no doctor in those days. I don't know. My sister has one, which we were using to do self-medication. So now, your NGO has been on for how long?
Well, 10 years now, since that, yes, 10 years.
So how have you been sustaining
yes,
your
it's been tough. Initially, it's been tough because we are new at that time. But we've been headhunted for some of the things that we'll do. We do also regular media things, documentaries, short videos, and all that.
I think I featured a couple of times.
A couple of times on that.
So anyway, that's not for your information. That's between us.
Okay, so. We've had also foreign donors. Well, I should clear this so that people don't come knocking on my door. All of these projects have, you know, they have their lifespan.
Yeah, sure.
We've had 1 year, 2 years, 6 months. Yeah. Yes. We've had a 3-year, which was very, very successful to me, about malnutrition in 11 states in Nigeria. And we were able, even at the federal level, we were able to change the dynamics. We're not there yet of government, you know, purchasing what we call ready-to-use food therapy for children who are malnourished. We've had states also buy into the fact that when you have a foreign donor giving 50%, sometimes it's so serious that the governments don't see the need to even counterpart funding. So we advocated for that, and well, we got some measure of you know, we did work close to, I could give myself like 70%, and I think that's a pass mark. And it was in collaboration with other NGOs like ours, including the Aisha Buhari Foundation, you know. So, and we all worked together, about 4 of us, and we're able to change the dynamics of ensuring that we don't go out of stock for RUTF, and able to point out to government. And in fact, I would mention here proudly that some governments, we actually gave awards, because some of the governors never believed that they had that problem in their state.
Problem of malnutrition.
Or malnutrition in children. So our advocacy brought it out. The Speaker of Bauchi State House of Assembly, we gave an award, because the guy not just advocated for more funds, he went to the field with us. Yes, And he saw this thing. I mean, he couldn't believe it. It's like you're seeing children in war-torn areas in Nigeria. I used to coin it as, we are not in war, yet our children are malnourished. You see them, all bones.
So where did you get some of those funding
Some of those funding came from children's, they don't like us to mention their names, but I will, from children's,
Save the Children?
Not Save the Children, but Children Investment Fund, they're universal.
No.
They had hunted us, they heard about us and gave us. As I speak with you, we're doing something in the FCT, sponsored by EU Act. And for 1 year, what we're trying to do now is get to the root of the problem. What is the root of the problem? Is that the women themselves don't have knowledge of what they can feed their children with. Even if they have the knowledge, they do not have the financial power to do that. So what we are doing now is identifying the poor of the poorest, give them some skills there so that manage them in such a way, look through what they are able to do, what they've learned from the skills of waste to wealth. And we have studied the area and we know what can, what will become useful for them to convert waste to wealth. And this project, I'm sure, when we come back, Jide, I promise you, if you call us back in another year, we'll be able to say to you,
may God spare our lives,
there. So EU Act has done this with us, with their support for 1 year. We're doing that in 2 local governments in the FCT, Gwagwalada and Kwali and Buari. And it has become a community thing because we went through the traditional rulers and all that. So everybody is involved. They know what's happening. And that's one thing we should do. So we're very grateful for EU Act and British government.
Why? Because you are talking about foreign donors supporting initiatives like this. Whereas we cannot say that the Dangotes of this world, the Otedolas of this world, the Adenugas of this world do not have the funds to also support initiatives like this. What about MTN Foundation? Have you reached out to this? So that we domesticate this.
Yes, we can't continue to be donor dependent. I agree with you. This is what we intend to do this year. We have spoken in terms of person to person, but we have not in terms of put it on documentation, put it on paper. We're spoken to even Bois, we have, and we're going to run it now. But when you see that a lot of these other names that you've mentioned are also doing one thing or the other. For example, I know that the Dangote Foods are trying to ensure that we start manufacturing RUTF that is ready to use therapeutic foods in Nigeria.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. So these are people.
But this is the more reason why you need to key to it at the early stages, so that you'll be a frontliner.
Yeah, but I'd just like to use this forum to say that all of us have a responsibility beyond what we can do as an organization. If you're a community leader, for example, if you invite us in, we have the skills, we have the network, we have the people to reach where we can. No, Nigerians who are health practitioners who are ready to donate their time. We have been able to do that. And honestly, we did that in Uke. Uke is very close to Abuja here. You can drive and go and watch. We did that because we went to that community, adopted the community, found out that they had a dispensary that was there even before independence. But today, we have a standard primary health care in that environment. It's close to Uke. It's a Nasarawa state. You can go there and verify. So we impact on people's lives. We try as much as possible to reach out. And thank you for inviting me on this program. I probably would use this as to say that, listen, you are ready.
Thank the management of ITV for the opportunity.
ITV.
Because this is all about us.
It's all about us.
Sector.
And nobody's going to do it for us.
That's why when I got this opportunity, I said, no, I will have to be biased for my people in the civil society, in the development sector. We are partner in progress, media and civil society. We are the engine room of development. because government can do little. No matter what, the resources of government have to be shared into very many, but we can choose a very minute area and focus and make impact. And that's why, you know, we should thank the management and congratulate us. We are 25th. We are celebrating our 25th anniversary.
All right.
On Monday, ITV will be exactly 25 years old. So our Silver Jubilee is on, and we'll have the highlight. I mean, the high point will be on Monday, 28th.
We promise you that ISMPH will be there, and let me just congratulate you. 25 years. That's a long time. That's a full-grown establishment. Yeah. Thank you for keeping
thanks
on.
Also to Mrs. Amba Olagwe, the GA, who actually is the initiator of this program, actually.
Thank you. I mean, that goes to show, if I may divert a bit, that when you give a woman, you give her the space in terms of leadership, we are able to perform.
Okay.
So,
anyway, before we
let me just please let me congratulate her. But truly and truly, this also demonstrates that what a man can do, a woman can do, and together we would build faster.
All right. Yeah. So you know, as we go the home stretch now, your work cut across media and civil society, and you have chosen the path of public health. Now, looking at the situation with health insurance, as someone who is a veteran health journalist, what will you say? Because part of the challenge is out-of-pocket expenses. Every time you have headache, you have to go buy drugs. You cannot afford to do tests because, you know, medical emergencies sometimes does not warn you ahead. You may wake up with an ailment you never slept with. So what do you think we need to do differently with our health insurance? We have national health insurance scheme that's been on for over a decade, but which I'm not sure we have up to 10% of Nigerians subscribe to that health insurance.
Yeah, I think what has happened is that at the initial stage, the national health insurance, you know, covered federal civil servants.
Yeah, public servants
generally. And I thought that should be a pointer for states to buy into it. Some states did, but not very many states as you would expect. And then again, at the community level, at the local government level, there should also be that drive at that level. Because, I mean, for countries that have achieved what you call the universal health coverage, have been able to cascade it, you know, to even at the level or at the ward level, where everyone can, you know, can access health on demand. But we haven't been able to break through to do this. But I'll give you a success story. I always like to accentuate the positive because for us, I pray that nothing happens to Nigeria. I believe in this country. I mean, tell me which country in West Africa.
Or even Africa can contain us. The refugee from Nigeria.
So we need to start doing things in country for ourselves by ourselves. There's a place in Kwara State where community health insurance was piloted. It is working.
Which community is that?
I think Lafia. Is it Lafia again now? Somewhere between that axis, where you have the Shonga.
Okay.
Where you have the traditional ruler. The traditional ruler is a doctor.
Oh, okay.
So that helped. I'm sure that helped to accelerate it. But the thing is, it's a good intervention that is working. How much of publicity have we given to it? If you go as a media correspondent, as a health correspondent, how aware are you of success stories that are happening that we should accentuate? This is where I want to appeal here to our media owners. A lot of us have gone commercial, yes, because you have to pay for a lot of things now.
Yeah, utilities,
price
of diesel is out of this world.
But we must also think of life.
Social services.
Social services. Yeah. And so when you're talking to social services, if, for example, an insurance company has been able to make it work in Shonga, I should be able to, give a mention. Not say, no, don't use that line, because it is advertisement. Advertisement, no.
But what corporate social responsibility?
So we need, and then we don't give health news the prominence it deserves. It's only when there's disaster. People have died from Lassa fever. You are not talking to the cause of Lassa fever, which is public health issue. The way we preserve our foods, the way we keep them, what we should be doing, the things that we should be telling our food manufacturers about food safety and food security. We're not. It's a whole gamut of life. It's not just about injections or medication.
In fact, someone said, sorry to cut you short. Someone told me that medicine is more than drug.
Yeah.
And
it's a total well-being.
That medicine, to sleep well is medicine, eating well is medicine, exercising is medicine, meditation is medicine, and
the environment is medicine.
Because using drug is just a minute part of medical well-being. So if you are using the drugs and you don't take your diet very seriously, the drug will not impact positively on you. If you are not taking a rest and you are walking around the clock, you remember, if you are taking malaria treatment, they will say, please make sure you rest. Because if you are taking malaria drug and your body is not resting, you are all over the place, the drug may not work well. So there's a lot of public misinformation, disinformation that is affecting our public health awareness, and I think this is where media needs to do a lot more. So how are you networking? Because your organization alone cannot do this.
No, we can't do it alone, and we don't want to pretend we can. So we are networking as it is, not just in terms of reporting, but we are also building capacity.
That's
we are also. I just came back from Lagos, where the Punch newspaper invited me and some other practitioners, media practitioners, to impact knowledge on health correspondence. It was health correspondence, and for 3 days we were there with them. They sat through it, and it was intensive, and we're able to impact knowledge. And I've gotten a bit of feedbacks from them, and yes, two. Apart from, we also are very working closely with the Association of Health Correspondents of Nigeria, where every year we're with them. In fact, every day we ensure that we build capacity within them, because, there are times that they change people from beats, so new people come in, and we need to impact knowledge. Because my mantra is report from the point of knowledge. You cannot assume to be a doctor or a pharmacist or a nurse or a lab technologist because you're a health correspondent. No. You need to mingle, you need to have knowledge. And that's what the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta have done. Every year they give what you call night journalism fellowship to journalists, health correspondents, where you sit in the same class with doctors, with top professionals. They do not teach you something different. So you find out that it's intensive for those 9 months, because each time they come up with their jargon, which you do not understand, you quickly have to make a friend, amongst the practitioners, to say, listen, this was what Prof said today. In fact, I was just listening, but I didn't understand. So, okay, but it's not as difficult as that. And these friendship are things that over the years, one has been able to establish networks. We have a compendium. Health correspondents come to us. We have a compendium. Ma'am, I'm doing a story on malaria. who do I get? Oh, I know Professor Benga is at the University of Ilorin. Get to him. He will give you what you need, you know? So we have that network also, not just in terms of just health correspondence of people. I mean, I was shocked at the beginning of COVID. We had Professor Tomori, who is a global name.
Epidemiologist.
You know, he's a virologist. And we are talking of a virus. So I said, listen, I called my colleagues at one of the stations and I said, I'm wondering why you are not inviting people like Professor Tomori to come and speak to Nigerians, because we needed to build confidence for people even to accept, to know that we have a problem with COVID. Yes. So, and when you have your own person speak to you, it's like, you know, it's a relationship between you and your doctor.
But just your custom now, because we are on the home stretch, final home stretch now.
Okay.
What did you miss after your retirement? In terms of, no, let me make it to two parts. What was your high point in your media career, and what are you nostalgic about now that you are retired but not tired? So
I'm nostalgic about field work. I loved reporting. I loved reporting health because I'm sure for every 2-3 minutes that NTA gave me every other day or every day, depending on what I'm following up, impacted on people. So I miss that. I miss it so much. So much so that sometimes I don't even watch. I don't want to listen to reporters because they miss it. They have become events journalists today. So it's only when Ministry of Health calls them or something, the investigation that we went through, investigating or following through a story is fast disappearing, and I think we should be worried about that. We should be able to follow a story to conclusion. So I miss that. I miss, I remember a time my DG used to call me Madam Polio, because I was, yes, Dr. Tony Radia, I say, but get to the bottom of that story. NCA must be part of their education. And so, I mean, what else do I need? So if there's a story breaking out in Maiduguri, I'm there. And then I had the cooperation of all the agencies. If I wanted to cover a story in your state, you'd be glad I did, because I would report objectively. And if I say to you, if I report that something is wrong or there's a weakness or there's a gap there, you would believe it. And so even when some of the authorities, you know, tried to fight me, eventually we all became friends, you know. So I miss that. I miss going to the field. I still go to the field, but not like I have an avenue where I can report like every day.
So what was the high point for you? Was there a particular story you did that gave you international prominence or you know, national prominence, that people say, wow, I need to meet this lady who did this report?
I must say to you that thank you, Nigerians, because I was nominated for a national honors, and, and I got an MFR.
Oh, you're an MFR?
Yes, Nigerians.
Why are you playing down on that? I never knew.
Yes.
Makajola, MFR. I have to be addressing you properly now, Grandma.
So, yes, so, and I remember that one of our legends, Duro Nobule, he wrote a beautiful piece on that that year, and where he said he criticized some of the people that were awarded, but actually singled me out as one who deserved it. And I felt that was, you know, that was a proud moment for me and for my family. Yes, I did a story on, at a point, I think it was in 1997, 98, there was this kerosene explosion all over the place in Abuja. And I followed up that story. I followed it up to conclusion before I traveled out of the country, and went, you know, to the victims, so much so that I think the authorities became interested in what was causing the kerosene explosion, because I mean, you saw people had like 75% burn, like degree burns, you know, things like that. You know, for me, I followed it to conclusion, and there was impact. I've also done, actually, Jide, a lot of stories stand out to me. I've done stories on improvement of women that leak urine and
that's VVF, vaginal fistula. Anyway, we need to pause at this point because this is not all for you. We need to segment this. I know you could say a lot more, and definitely you have my promise that you'll be back on this. God keeping us alive and in good health, because we need to mainstream this issue of media and public health is of significance. The messaging is getting wrong. We are not framing the right messages. We are part of we are even reporting the superstitions.
We're part of the misinformation.
Misinformation. Anyway, Mrs. Moji Makonjola, MFR, veteran broadcaster, journalist, public health expert, gender expert, everything rolled into one. When should we expect your memoir? It's
very soon. Very soon. Very soon.
We look forward to having that. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you also for inviting me.
It's a pleasure and a great honor and privilege to sit with a legend like you.
Thank you,
interviewing you. I know you've done this enough.
I've done this enough to you.
This is the payback time. So now I have the authority to call her by first name. I dare not say that off the set. So, Dr. Abati, I'm taking a cue from you. So it's Moji now, but when we leave this set, it's Grandma.
Thank you very much, ITV, for having me on, and Jide, thank you for the wonderful job you're doing about development. And development is, if I may say this, it's not just about what the donors bring. It's about what we as individuals impact on the society.
Information is power.
It's power.
It's power.
And the media has a lot. It is an imperative that we see ourselves as partners in national development. And so let's accentuate the positive when we see it. Let's be objective, but let's report from the point of knowledge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's a veteran broadcaster talking. The first phase on NTA Ilorin, Kwara State, a living legend by every standard. An MFR, member of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Moji Makonjola. It's a pleasure and great honor. I'm going to treasure this moment for the rest of my life. Because it's not every day you get people like you, coming so committed. You are here much earlier, even than the time the show should start. And that's very, very inspiring and very commendable, very exemplary for younger generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. And stay safe and stay healthy, stay blessed.
Thank you.
So we'll be back in a bit for the second and conclusive segment of Development Focus with Jide on ITV. Stay tuned.